The next type of division problem with decimals we're going to talk about is dividing decimals by a decimal. So our divisor will have a decimal in it. So we've done some problems where we've had decimals in our quotient. We've had some problems where we had a decimal in our dividend. Now today we're going to have a decimal in our divisor and in our dividend. So let's practice with the problem 1 2/10 divided into 9 6/10. Okay, so I have 9 6/10 divided by 1 2/10. Okay, normally if this did not have a decimal, we would just put our decimal point right up into the quotient before we start. However, what we're going to do here is instead of dividing by a decimal, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply both of these numbers by 10. And we're going to actually move our decimal point over until we have a whole number in our divisor. So I'm going to take this decimal point and I'm going to move it over to here so that I'm using 12, a number that I'm familiar with. And if I do that to my divisor, I need to do the same thing in my dividend. I'm going to put a decimal point here, and once I move it over, then I'm going to pop it up to my quotient. Okay, and then I'm going to pop it up to my quotient. So instead of using 1 2/10, I'm now going to be doing 12. Instead of doing 9 6/10, I'm now going to be doing 96. So I could think to myself, well, what times 12 gets me close to 96? All right, so maybe I need to use my multiplication chart if I'm not too strong with my 12s, but I know that 12 times 8 equals 96. 12 times 8 equals 96. So I'm going to put my 8 up here. 8 times 12 is 96. When I subtract, I don't have anything left. Okay, and so my answer is just 8. My answer is just 8. I didn't have to put any extra decimal places into my quotient. So even if you're dividing two decimals, you could have a whole number answer. Okay, let's try another example. Let's try 18 2/10 divided by 1 4/10. Okay, 18 2/10 divided by 1 4/10. When I see that I have a decimal point in my divisor, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move it over. I'm actually multiplying. What I'm really doing behind the scenes or in my head is multiplying both my divisor and my dividend by 10 because I'm moving it one place value. If I was moving it two place values, I would be multiplying by 100 in my head. And now I'm going to think about using the number 14 and the number 182, and I'm going to put my decimal point up in my quotient before I get started. So now I'm going to think, well, what times 14 is going to get me to 182? All right, so this is where I'm going to start thinking, okay, well, let's break it down. So I'm going to, if I look at my hundreds place now, I have 1. I cannot get a group of 14 out of 1, so I'm going to put a 0 up here. Let's look at my next number. Now at 18. I can get a group of 14 from 18, right? I can get one group of 14 because 1 times 14 is 14. When I subtract that, I'm going to have 4 left over. Get a 2 down here. Okay. So now I have 14 and I have 42. 42 divided by 14, or how many groups of 14 can I take from 42? I know that 14 is a multiple of 7. 6 times 7 is 42. 14 is 7 doubled. So if I take half of 6, it's 3. So 3 14s should give me 42. So let's try 3. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 more is 4. So there I do have 42. When I subtract, I don't have anything left. So 1 4/10. So let's write it out this way. 18 2/10. Let's write this out. 18 2/10 divided by 1 4/10 equals 13. My quotient here is 13. Again, you can have a whole number quotient, even though you have decimals in your dividend and in your divisor. Okay, so we're going to try a few of those types of problems today in our work page.